So the title of it is not, but the title of the entire series, in this series, there is four classes that I'm going to be taking there, which I did one this morning. And I already talked about the objective this morning to show you principles that affect you daily, and then present to you um, the principle is what pursuing, by making complex ideas simple to achieve, and then also to make the best use of your day in a productive way and follow your path to make your dreams and your future become your own reality. Now, this morning, I share the principles slash realities, and this evening I'm supposed to talk about the conquering your day. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to be talking about the principles of productivity. And the evening session tomorrow is going to be your day, your dream, and your future. But right now, I'm gonna go back to talk about principles and realities for the session based on so we can just enjoy it more and not really rush into new materials. And we're not rushing anywhere. We're just gonna enjoy it and learn something. So the agenda today it's a gift. You gotta understand that the principles and reality, principles of life, the key to life, master your day, and then also understand your mindset and also understand how to create a new mindset. And I already talked about what I do and the reason why I do what I do. My mission is to ensure that people see their uniqueness and know they have no limitation except in their own hearts. Whatever your heart cannot conceive cannot happen in your life. That's a principle that we got to understand. If we cannot conceive it, we cannot give birth to it. My job is to show you what you have that seems insignificant, but it's all you need to get you to the desired destination. Now, I like to emphasize all the time to my audience that I'm not a motivational speaker. I teach and show people the principle of life that leads to their transformation. So my definition of transformation is a genetic change in your belief systems that occur in your heart and not your head. A kind of a series of teachings which is not included here. Now, the mission of life impact is to influence a change across the landscape by breathing fresh air into the system. We impart knowledge that transform individuals and organizations. Now, we focus on learning institutions, governments, public offices, businesses, and families. And our goal is to impact over 250 people within 10 years frame. And these people will have a dream that will be able to also change the landscape. All right. Um, okay. So let me continue before I go to the next slide. So I said like this one is some things will not change. No matter where the world is heading to, some things are really established that will not change. Principles of life will not change, no matter what's going on around the world. And then the realities that we are facing in some places also sometimes will not change. Now, the realities of our times are the uninvited pandemic, the economic decline, and unexpected movement of protest that is transforming the face of nations. It's happening in US, it's happening in Paris, happening in UK, and some other places across the globe. So there are other realities you may be experiencing personally, which you might have control over, or you might not have control over. Now, what is important here is to know that the happenings around you cannot trump the principles of life. You got to understand that. We got to understand that the happenings around us cannot trump the principles of life. So now these are two extremes that we need to examine. So I'm going back to the same teaching that I did this morning for the person that just came in. That's why I'm giving that information. So I want us to take a moment and think about the following statements as some of the things that will not change. And I said this morning, which I'm repeating again, I say no matter what is happening across the globe, there are some whose expertise and discoveries will provide solution and preserve lives, that which will make them impossible to be ignored in the society or globally. So those guys have already established themselves that every time, no matter what's happening around the globe, these guys cannot be ignored. So the question there is, can you find yourself in that kind of position whereby what you do makes you to become that relevant that nobody can ignore you? So that's the question. That's why I make that statement. Because when you find that path of life, that's what you do, establish you to the fact that no matter what's happening globally, nobody can ignore you. There will be, it's going to be traceable to a principle that you're operating that makes you to become, that kind of relevance that nobody can ignore you. And I made the same another statement this morning. I said, regardless of the situation across the globe, especially where the world is heading, the number of successful people will continue to decline in ratio compared to others. There will be an increase in poverty, and more will fall into the lower class due to the failure of system and over reliance on the system at the same time. And many people will experience a confused state of mind because of this problem. So what I'm trying to explain here is the way where we're heading to right now in the future now, people are going to be successful, but the numbers of those are going to be declining, right? Because a lot we're going to see more poverty because the system is falling apart. The world is in chaos. So now where do we find ourselves in this situation? They also said this morning that the gap between the rich and the poor will continue to widen due to habits. It's not because the poor doesn't like the rich or because the rich doesn't like the poor. It's because of habits. And it's principle that we live by that becomes the habits, that we form. So if you don't live and apply the right principle to yourself, you're going to have a bad habit. That habit will continue to, if the person is poor, it will continue to be poor. But if the person is rich, if it's good principle that forms a good habit, the person will continue to be rich. So until there's a change in that kind of habit, the gap between the poor and the rich is going to continue to widen like that. Nobody can change that except individuals come into that understanding. If we continue to cast our hopes on politicians and government to help us create our desired lives, it will not happen until we change our habits and apply the principle of life to reach an higher height and at the same time create room for ourselves at the top. So these are the things. Now we have to decide what category do we fall into as a people. Are you one of those who allow the realities of life to control your choices, or you are one of the few people who are building their lives on principles that will stand the test of time? And and I said the secret of mastering your life is conquering your day. This is very important. This is very important. You don't need to fight to be successful in the future. You don't have to. Your fight has to be, how do I conquer my day? How do I form a great habit? If I form the good habit, a successful habit for one day, that same habit is going to trigger a ripple effect. Is going to affect tomorrow. I'm going to produce the same thing that I produced today. So it has to be, the secret is to master how you can conquer today. If you learn how to conquer your day, then you have been able to successfully learn how to conquer your life. Now, if you have not conquered today, the struggle of life continues without a winning strategy. So if you 24 hours, you can't understand what you produce today. You can't understand what you maximize today. And then you today is gone and you wake up tomorrow. It's going to be the same thing. The struggle will continue because you have not found the answer. So it's not, the answer is not going to be, it's not going to come by magic except you find the principle. So principle that gives you the victory over today applies to the rest of your life. Master the secret of conquering each day to create a successful life. And I come to now emphasize this, that your day, it's a gift that is given to you. Now, this is how I want you to see the day. Like the day arrived like a package. And when it arrived, it had inside of that package a blank, a blank paper. And they just say, take the blank paper and fill it up. And whatever you want to accomplish in that day, write it on that blank paper. And when you successfully write it, that's exactly what you should do. So today is a gift. And I made the statement, said today it's more important, it's the most important day of your life. There are three periods in one's life: the past, the present, and the future. The past has something to do with where you are today. And when I said that, I mean the principle that you've applied to your life in the past is what brought you to where you are today. Where you are today, it's not just like you just woke up and you don't understand what's happening. Now, you might not be conscious of it, but there is a principle that you've lived by that brought you where you are today. So you don't have control over that past because it's past. Now, the future is a reality that will happen, but until you can master today and make it produce, I'm going to say today, until you can master today and make it produce, you cannot have the future you desire. And I feel that we have like leave, like the way I was brought up, the kind of education I have, there was nobody teaching us things like this. There was nobody telling us that there's a way you craft your day. There's a way you prepare your future. There's a way you design your life. We were being taught those things. So we just live and we know the generic information. You're going to go to school and you're going to be successful when you get out of school. They didn't tell us that there is like a kind of a detail that you have to follow in how to make your life the kind of standard that to be where you want to be in life. Now today is the womb that conceives your tomorrow. Today is the womb that conceives your tomorrow. What you do today is part of the great life ahead of you. If today never exists, you will never have opportunity to see tomorrow. So whatever you're looking forward to in the future, you have to first of all focus on that today. Today is part of the future. It's like the first day of the future. If you can get today right, you don't have to struggle about conquering the future. I'm telling you, if you understand the principle that makes a day to be successful for you, and you make that principle to become your habits, that habits will just follow you every day and will reproduce the same success or the same standard that you want to. Now, if today does not exist, there can never be tomorrow. Your today is a gift of a lifetime with the potential to conceive your future. What you do today is the seed and investment for the future. Until you can conquer your day, you cannot overcome the challenges of your life. Now, if you can master today and create a productive habit, that habit will become the same tools for creating a great life. If you cannot survive today, your tomorrow is not guaranteed. If you cannot survive today, your tomorrow is not guaranteed. Now, what I mean by survival is having the mental capacity to create your success daily, the mental strength to build the future you desire daily, and the conviction to create a belief systems that will validate the certainties of your life. If you understand this thing that I just mentioned, you will discover that you have come across the principles, the key that control, whatever you want to attain in life. Because it is not magic. It is something we have to understand, apply, and then it just happen. It's just going to happen like that. Like when the intimacy between couple, one day there's conception. When conception happen, after some months some baby is going to come into that family. So it's a principle. And as I begin to talk, and as I continue to show us these principles, we will understand how those things work. Now, what you create today, what you build today, and the conviction you have is a guarantee that your tomorrow is established. You have to create something, you have to build something, and you have to establish a conviction in your heart. And those things is what guarantees that, yeah, I know I'm going somewhere, because it's like tangible. It's not like vague. So you have 24 hours period, in a day, and it expires anytime. You can do whatever you want in that day. But when the day expires, what stays with you in your memory is what you accomplish. You might not remember the day, maybe it's the 26th of June, but if you accomplish something great, that accomplishment becomes the memory of the day. 24 hours is going to come and go. You can't stop it, you can't control it. But what you have power over is your own accomplishment for that day. And I just said, that's how I said every day arrives like a package. And inside the package, it's a blank paper. And he asks you, take this paper and write down what you want to achieve today. And you write down, today I'm going to read 2 books. Today I'm going to write letter. Today I'm going to make a phone call. When you make those things, and if they are the priorities of your life, that is what's going to give you, the product, the productivity that you're looking for in a day. So what I want to share with you today in a more, concrete way is to create an understanding that the secret to mastering your life is when you have control over your day. The secret to mastering your life is when you have control over your day. Don't ignore the single day and think it doesn't matter. No, every single day matters. You might not be able to perform at your max on each day, but until you have an understanding that this day, today, it's a kind of the womb that conceived tomorrow. If I can get it right today, that habit is going to follow me tomorrow and it's going to help me to get it right tomorrow. That means at the end of the week, I will have been able to, have the full week that is, full of accomplishment. But if you cannot get it right in a single day and you follow the same pattern, that means there's going to be failure for the second day, failure for the third day, and the entire week is just going to be the same thing. So first, you must master the secret of controlling each day to create a successful life. And I'm going to talk about principle right now. A principle. And I want us to look at this slide. If you are online with me and you're checking the slide, I talked about this slide this morning. I'm going to reemphasize it today. Now, I want to talk about principle. First of all, let's understand that life operates by principle. And those are the things we didn't learn when we were growing up. Life operates by principles. We were taught like, okay, if you read your book as a student, then you're gonna have a good shoes that when you're matching, your shoe is gonna be making good noise. That means you're being successful. But it didn't teach us that there are principles that you have to apply if you want to get to some kind of height in life. So life operates by principles, and principles are keys. Now, when you look at key, a key is something you use to open a door. You can turn the key to the left or to the right. Depending on direction you turn on the key, that will determine if the door is going to open. Now, I want us to also understand one concept here, that the key gives you control. Key gives you control. And when I'm talking about key, I'm talking about control. I'm talking about knowledge. The key is knowledge. But let's talk about principle first. It said in the word of Stephen Covey, it said principles are natural laws that are external to us and ultimately control the consequence of our actions. I'm going to say that again. It said principles are natural laws that are external to us and ultimately control the consequences of our action. The principle doesn't control our actions. It controls the consequence of our action. So there are two consequences, like let's say the key, you have one key, which it's able to open a door or to close the door. Now you determine where you want to turn the key to. If you turn it to the right, the consequences of this action is like when you turn the key to the right, the door is going to be open. And the consequence of the action is when you turn the key to the left, the door is going to be, is going to be closed. So it's already been packaged in the principle that based on your action, what's going to happen at the end of the day. So I use another illustration like this. It said, okay, let's say there is a key, and that key, the principle to success is also an opposite of the principle to success is failure. So depending on what direction you want to take. Now, if you involve yourself in hard work and you're diligent, and this is the principle you're operating, the principle of diligence, then you discover that, okay, you're walking your way. And that principle leads to success. But if you decided to say, no, I'm going to take the opposite direction of this principle, I'm not going to work hard, I'm not going to be diligent, definitely then the consequence is already there before you even make the decision. So when you walk opposite direction of success, the opposite direction of success is just only one consequence, that's failure. So that's how the key works in two phases. It depends on which phase are you taking concerning your decisions. So principles do not change, but the understanding of it is what changes per time. Now, our lives operate the principle. Those principles are like keys. I already said that can turn either way. They, depending on the direction that the key turns, that determines if the door is going to open or is going to lock for you. So life is not luck. Life is not by luck. Life is not by magic. Life is based on principle. Now, when you apply this principle to yourself, you understand and apply it to yourself, the consequences is already established what you're going to get there. So you are not going to be the one to force the result. The result is already standing by. It's just for you when you take the action. Then, so it's not like What if I do this thing I fail? So what's the consequence of sowing a seed? There's a that's there's going to be, it's a cause and effect, and when you sow a seed, the seed is going to germinate. So it's not like you are going to be the one to create the law of germination. No, it's a law that's been established that when a seed is being sown, what's going to happen to that seed is that seed is going to germinate if it's on the good soil. So that's how principles work. Now, one very strong point I want us to understand here is this principle, which is also the key. It's the power of control. And this is very important. If you don't have the key, which is equivalent to knowledge, whoever has this key will control your time. And whoever controls your time will control your life. If you don't have the key, those who have the key are the one that controls the system. And that's why they control people's time. That's why they control people's life. That's why they'll tell people what to do, when to do it, how to do it. So when we talk about, people that works in great organizations, employing other people, telling them what exactly they want them to do, they control their time. Why? They have the knowledge of what those people are looking for. Then you go to them because you don't have that knowledge. You don't, maybe you're not there yet. So this guy tell you, all right, you're gonna work for me. And then when you start working for me, I want you to resume by 8. And then you're gonna work for me till 5 p.m. I'm gonna pay you. But yeah, regardless, I'm gonna pay you, but I own that your time from that 8 to 5. And then I'm going to, like, at the end of the day, I will tell you, what to do. So I own the products that you're going to give. You're now producing something for yourself. You're producing for that organization, you know. So they control the time and they control your life. If your life is supposed to be meant for something different, but in as much as you have not found the key and principle to, create that thing that you want, whoever has the key takes your time, and whoever takes your time, or whatever it is that you involve your time with, that thing is the same thing that controls your life. So I want us to understand that. Now, one of the vision of this class is to teach people the principle that gives you control over your life. That's one of the things we want to do. We want everyone to be able to take the control over their lives. We want people to be independent. We want people to be able to have this understanding to create their own dreams and to pursue their own life. So when you do that, you have the key, you have the control, and you can change the landscape. That's why understanding the most important day of your life and conquering your day are moves to have control over your life. Because if you cannot control those things, if you cannot conquer your day, you can't even have control over your own life and you can't change anything. So in this context, I want us to understand that control means freedom. You have freedom to make choice. You have freedom to spend time with your family. You have freedom to do whatever you want to do because you have the key of your own life. You're controlling your own time because you own your own products. You own your own product. You're not producing for other people, you know. So that's what we want. That's where we're aiming to, going to. Now, I want us to understand, and I'm going to move to the next slide, says the principles that govern your day governs your life. This is very important to understand this. The principles that govern your day governs your life. And also, if your principles or habits violate the principles of life, you're going in the opposite direction. So what you need to do is to change any principle you're operating that violates, the parts of your fulfillment. So if you notice that, you have to change those things. Now there's three principles that I established this morning that I taught, which I'm going to share with us. And these principles are very interrelated. Um, the principles that control your life is also responsible for creating your circumstances. If you're looking at the slide, you see what I've just said there. The principle that controls your life also is also responsible for creating your circumstances, your realities, what you're experiencing right now. But then I'm going to share those three principles, and I want you to understand that these three principles are very, very important. It's the principle of, if you understand the principle of time, and you understand the principle of productivity,
And then you understand the principle of change. So those things are not magic. These things are how life works. How life works. And then when I start beginning to share those things, and you will understand what I'm saying. Now, first of all, let's look at time. You do not control time. You only align yourself with it. Everybody's got 24 hours in a day. You only have 24 hours. And after the 24 hours, that day expires. So what you need to do is to just what? Align yourself with that 24 hours. You have no control over time. Yet, this time that you don't have control over, this time is what determines your own life's accomplishment. That's how sensitive time is. You cannot control it, but then it determines your own accomplishment. You cannot add to the time, you cannot deduct from it. So, what you do with your time is what separates you from other people. And I already said it before. I said it before. I said, whosoever or whatever controls your time controls your life. So it's a principle you gotta understand. What am I using my time for? And I tell myself, I said, yeah, I sometimes I get into conversation discussion. It takes hours, and then after the hours of having this conversation, I sit down and I ask myself, what are my gains and what are my deduction from this conversation? And I'll bring out a pen and I'll begin to write it down. Yeah, I learned this from this conversation, and this. If I involve myself in 2 hours, 3 hours conversation, and at the end of the day, I'm not learning anything, it's not challenging me, I wouldn't go back to that kind of conversation anymore. But if I continue to see, okay, yeah, this has really opened my understanding up also to how people think and how people analyze things, and help me to see when I want to present things to people and how I should present it. So now, and that's the thing, that I'm investing my time in that conversation because that conversation is productive for me. So time is very essential. Time. We have 24 hours and the time is always ticking. It's always ticking. Now, one of the keys to success is to know what to do with your time. Just know what to do with your time. You know how you want to, whatever, however you want to run your time, just understand it. Don't wake up in the morning and the time is just going and you don't have a clue what to do with that day. And sometimes, except you've worked for, maybe the previous day or previous weeks and you are really tired and you just want to have rest, there's always going to be time for rest. But then if it's like a kind of a daily thing, you wake up in the day, you can say, I don't even get myself nowadays. I don't even know what direction I'm going to. That's a very serious issue. That means time is just, going and you can't do anything about it. Now, I said something. When people couldn't, when they feel they're wasting their time, you can't waste time because you don't have control over it. What you're really doing is you're wasting your own life. You can't waste time. Time is, it's accurate, it's complete. You can't deduct out of it, you can't add to it. So you're not wasting the time, you're only wasting your own life, because the time that is allotted for you to accomplish something, you're not doing that thing, and you might not have that time again. Another thing to do with time is to learn how to compress time. And when I say compress time, what I'm trying to say here is, by learning through other people's experience, you don't need to spend 15 years to accomplish what somebody else have already spent 15 years to accomplish, and the person have already also written a book that you can learn. And then from that book, you understand that, oh, this is the right way. Because why? You cannot master time through trials and error. Don't say that I want to do it my way and see too. If it's going to take you 30 years, and somebody already told you, no, I did it 30 years, it doesn't profit. Do it for 5 years, this is how to go. You learn from people's experience. That's how to compress time. And also, you organize your schedule each day, doing things that are important to producing the results you want. Avoid just working on things that are urgent. But there are things that's going to be like, oh, this is urgent, I need to run, I quickly do this. Oh, and then before you know, your days is really torn into different parts, and you can't really tell at the end of the day what is it that is productive that you achieve for that day. So that's about time. Remember the principle of time, you don't control it. And then productivity, the proof that you have invested your time reflects in your productive life. That's the proof that you have properly invested your time. When you see the result of what comes out of that time that you spent, or the day. When you wake up and it's time to go to bed and you see the result, that tells you that you have invested your time rightly. Now, and I said here, it said productivity is one of the principles of life that gives you control. It gives you control because what you produce, it's what sets you apart. What you produce is what others cannot produce, and that's the services you're giving to humanity, which they can pay for or which you can be rewarded for. So understanding this concept can help you effectively manage your day, ensuring what you are doing is leading to a productive outcome. Result-oriented life generates solutions. So nobody's going to define, you know, maybe you are successful or not. You are responsible to define your own standard of success. But what's going to happen is time will reveal if your effort is rewarded or not. If you say, oh, my standard is to, do two things for 2 hours in a day. So at the end of the day, when you get to the future, you discover that doing two things for 2 hours for the period of your 10 years has not really amounted to something. Time will reveal and tell you that you've cheated yourself because you created your standard by yourself. So, but then if you find out that after 10 years you've cheated yourself, what you need to do is go back to the drawing board and then go and analyze your life and say, where did I miss it? How have I used time? Have I wasted the time the way you would normally say? Or have I utilized my time? But what I need to understand is, am I really producing to my maximum capacity each day? Because if I don't do that, that means the next 10 years, I'm just going to arrive at the same spot. And you have to understand that time will reveal if your effort is rewarded or not. If your result does not match what you want in life, you will revisit your principles and make adequate changes. Each day must be invested in something that is giving you the most satisfaction in life. Each day. Don't let the day just go by as if like, well, I don't know. No, no, don't do that. You have to find out what exactly is going to give you satisfaction in terms of your purpose and make sure it's part of what you're doing in a day. If we are taking that class that I wanted to share tonight, you will see that one of the principles of what to do in a day is to cultivate your field. And in that slide, I showed a sculptor that is spending time to cultivate, to create this sculpture. And then you will discover that what time it takes to make that masterpiece. So it's part of being productive. You have to learn how to cultivate your field in a day. That's your road to productivity. You don't allow the day to go by without you paying the price of doing something that is very particular about your purpose. Very particular about your purpose, because that is what is going to give you satisfaction and fulfillment at the end of the day. So if you are in the habit of allowing each day to go by without not touching anything that has to do with your calling, your purpose in assignment in life, you are not rightly investing that day. So that's about product. It's a principle. Productivity is a principle. It drives, the outcome of your life, because what you're called to do in life is to produce fruits. And the world want to see what you want to produce. So each day of your life must produce something tangible that is relatively to the purpose of your life. Now, let's talk about change. So nothing in your life changes until you change it. That's a principle. It's like the principle of motion. You cannot, everything's going to remain stagnant in the same position until somebody apply a force. You're going to be the one to say, no, I don't like the way things is going. I'm not maximizing my potential. I'm not doing exactly what I think is going to take me to where I want to be in 10 years. So if I'm like putting 4 hours to my purpose in life every day, I'm like, okay, so I need to add 2 more hours to it to make it 6 and to be able to produce something, because the result I'm seeing is not matching up that I'm going to get to where I'm going. Because I tell you, every single day should reflect the picture of the future that you're going to. I'm going to say that again. Every single day should reflect the picture of the future you're going to. When I say reflect, it's that when in a day, By the end of the day, when you want to go back to bed and retire for the day, you will have to have the sense that there is something that I've done today that shows that I'm one step, to the purpose of life that I'm created for, to the success that I'm aiming at, to the future that I'm going to. So, but if you are not in that platform right now, if you are not in that path right now, change is called the principle. You have to find how to change that pattern that you're operating with right now. You have to say, okay, how will I reschedule, reorganize myself? That each day I have to do something, one single thing or two things that is applicable to the path of my life. Because if you live so many years and you're doing something else that is outside, one day you're just going to wake up and say, well, do I still really have time to start the journey of my life, what I'm actually called to do? And that will be very regrettable. So you have to find out that you are the one that can initiate that change. Some have the impression that government is responsible for the change they want in life. It's not going to happen. The government does not have the power to your self-discovery. Politicians are not honest enough to change society, which is why people are agitated because they wanted the system to do something. And the system will fail them because the system can't give you your self-discovery. If you want to change, that change must start with you. Nothing changes until you make a move. And I said the statement, when you understand and effectively utilize your time, it creates room for productivity to bring about the change you desire. Now move to the next slide, which is productivity is the key to life. Productivity is the key to life. Now, productivity is the key to life, and the key to productivity is your daily activities. Now, I'll say it again. Productivity is the key to life. But the key to productivity is what you do every day, your daily activities. You need to be productive to ensure that you're really living a fulfilled life. But the key that controls productivity is daily activities. What do you do each day? What do you do each day? That's why I said the class tomorrow morning is going to be very fantastic. It's called the principle of productivity. And I'm going to share what we have to do on a daily basis to get to that place where we're maximizing what we're supposed to be in life. So what do you do every day? The reason you work is to produce something. What life is demanding from you is your fruits. There is something that you carry that probably nobody else will be able to produce. There are books that you will write that I cannot write because I don't have that idea inside of me. There are things you will build that cannot be built by me because I don't have that prototype things in me. So we all are called to do something different, to produce in different rings. So the world is expecting to see you produce something. And what you produce, those are the things that define your success in the society. These are the things that define that you accomplish the goals that God has called you to accomplish. There is something that you carry that is not fully known. It is the essence of your existence. The moment you understand the power within you to produce, then life will make more meaning to you, and those who know you too, they will understand you better. They will say, whoa, yeah, I think I see something. This guy is just different. You know, but what I will see that will make them to say you're different is not because of your complexion or your height. And I said this morning, except you're a model, maybe you're modeling for a company or something, they can say, oh, your face is really your product. But if you're not a model, people is not going to look at you for your complexion or your height and say, whoa, I can see what you're producing. No, but you have a product that you owe the world to produce. Now, your daily activities guarantee your productive life. Those who are running the system today apply principles that give them the result they wanted. Like the bankers, Wall Street gurus, the successful entrepreneurs, professional athletes, and etc. You say if you can get what you want, you will be in control. If you can get what you want, you'll be in control. A productive life is a life that gives you control. You do things the way you like, the way you like them, and live the way you desire. Simply, define success as productivity. If you can produce, then you'll be successful. So productivity is the key to life. And then remember, the principle that governs your day governs your life. Now, if you have this principle and you know how to be productive in a day, that principle will apply to the rest of your life because it will become an habit for you and you'll be able to continually produce for the rest of your life. You don't need to be worried about the future if you can conquer today. So it's very important we pay attention to how we live our day. I say you have to master your day. I keep emphasizing on the day. The day is very important. Every single day of our life is very important. Very, very important. Sometimes we just feel, well, don't worry about it. I'm just going to do that thing next 2 weeks. But before the next 2 weeks, what happened to those days? Those days have meaning. Those days have things that you are supposed to produce. And every day we are supposed to bring forth something. Now, in trying to explain, mastering your day, there is something I want to tell us. Basically, what I want to talk about mastering your days is the the ability to condition your day, to the point whereby you create a routine, and that routine becomes the system. So when you create the routine, our routine becomes a system. It just by itself, it kind of self-generates your whatever you want, result you want. If you already know this is how I run my day, and then by the time I run my day, I accomplish this what I want to do. But I want you to understand, if you have not set the right pattern, if you have not gotten things right, you don't have to master that your day because your day is not really organized. So don't master what is not organized. But if only your days had been organized and you know what goes before the other and you know how you get into the place of producing the results you desire every day, then you have to master that pattern. And once you master that pattern, it becomes a routine and it also generates a kind of a system for you to continue in that reproductive. It's just like a manufacturing, company. When you get into the processing thing, it starts from this point and then the second place, and then it goes into the packaging, it goes into whatever, and then before you know, it gets into distribution. So that's mastering that concept, that process of production. But if you have not fully organized in your day, you don't have to master it. But if you have followed principles and you understand what need to be done, you know how to conquer your day, you know how to bring the best out of your day, then you create a routine. And that routine, when you master that routine, it becomes a kind of a template that's a system that's itself generating. So that's what I meant by mastering your day. And then I said, if you want to master your day, it starts from your mindset. Your mindset. Now, why is your mindset so important? Because every one of us live in the atmosphere of our belief system. Our mind works, you know, give us direction, how we're functioning, what we are thinking. So, and then your mindset is also what directs your activities every day. And then you remember the secret to productivity is your daily activities. So your mindset is what actually, energizes your activities. Tell you if you can't, let's say you want to be somebody to go to the gym. If your mindset is telling you that, okay, Mondays I'm just going to do 2 miles, you discover that you are doing 2 miles every Monday. If your mindset tells you I'm just going to do 45 minutes of cardio every Wednesday, so your mindset to tell you that's going to be the activities for your exercise for that day. But then once you master that, it's just going to produce the same result. You keep going back every Monday, you're going to do 2 miles. Every Wednesday, you're going to do 45 minutes because you already have that mindset that I don't need more than 45 minutes. I don't need more than 2 miles. Once you create that mindset, you set a pattern for yourself. And that pattern, you've mastered it. And that pattern is going to produce the same thing. But what I want you to understand is just as that mindset is very productive for you, it helps you to generate that result. It helps you to create your activities, and your activities create your productivity. That mindset can also become a stumbling block for you, which is going to lead me to my next slide. So your most powerful asset is your mind, and it's also your biggest challenge. This is a very powerful statement. It's not a powerful statement because I'm saying it, but because it's just the fact, and that's the truth. Your most powerful asset is your mind, and it's also your biggest challenge. When you have a new mindset, you create a new result. When you are stuck in one pattern and you're not generating result, it's the mindset. It's the mindset. You have to find out the pattern that you're operating with. Remember, the mindset is what influences and energizes the activities that you involve yourself with in each day. So that mindset is the same thing. If you cannot change that mindset, you cannot change your result. It's not going to work. There's no amount of how angry you could be with your result. It's not the result that is the problem. It's not even the activities that is the problem. It is the mindset that is generating the idea of what the activities need to be. And the activities that you're doing is what creating the result. So you have to go back to the mindset if what you're experiencing is not what you want. And then go into how to put your mindset in a creative mode and find out how can I change things? How can I switch things around? How can I, what principle am I applying that is not working for me? You can actually go back and try and look at those principles. The principle in the day, how is it that you conquering the day? You can also go back and look at the principle of time. What am I using the time for? So in this mindset, what time am I allotting to this thing? In this mindset that I have, let's say I have mindset A right now that is working. And mindset A is producing for me, a result of A. And I'm so very angry because my result, I want it to be C. And then you said, okay, let me go. I'll have a mindset A. Mindset A, how do I align my timing to that mindset? Okay, I discovered that based on that mindset, my timing in doing what I'm doing, I use 2 hours to read, and then I use 1 hour, to eat. And, my productivity for that day is always like, let's say it's just 20 pounds. And then the changes I need, it's not happening. So when you look at that mindset, say, what do I need to change? Okay, my activities, I want it to increase. All right, so how many hours did I spend in doing this? Okay, I'm going to increase the hour, I'm going to reduce the hour. You go and look at those principles because these things are not magic. These things are real. This is how it is. So if you can't fight with results, you have to go fight with the process, go change the process. And the process starts from the mindset. New mindset will produce new results. So let me say, in a day, your activities remain the same thing. The same mindset you used yesterday, you brought it to today. That mindset will create the same activities. That activities will create the same results. It can't change. It's the same activities yesterday, and it's the same one today. It's not going to change. A cup of water yesterday and a cup of water today is the same thing, except you change and say 1 cup of water yesterday, I'm going to change to 2 cups of water today. Then you have changed something. And when you change something, then result is going to change. But then we fight with result and we fight with, oh, what is wrong with me? Oh, what's going on? No. Result just tell us that the process is this is the end of the process that you started. So now go back and say, well, I don't like this result. Then go back to the process and go and verify how did I go, what was the process like? And this is the only way, one of the best way to capture this is what you do in a day. Because at the end of the day, one day becomes 2 days become a week becomes a month becomes a year becomes a decade. And you say, whoa, I've been in the United States for 15 years. I've not been able to buy a bicycle. But it starts with each day. Have you been able to conquer each day? When that day arrives as a gift, its timeline is just 24 hours. And it starts ticking, boom, boom, boom. And when it's 23.59 seconds, that day is ready to disappear. That day is going to go. But what is going to be left with you is what you accomplished for that day. And then once that day is gone, gone forever. So you're just going to go back and say, yeah, what did I accomplish that day? Now, I'm going to like just summarize what I just talked about. This is really actually it's faster than the one of the I did this morning. Now, I want you to think about this. We're talk about the reason why today is important is because it's the womb that conceives tomorrow. Today is the womb that conceives tomorrow. Today is a gift. And I told you there are three periods in your life. You have the past, you have the present, you have the future. Where you are today it's based on the principle you apply in the past. That tells you that where you're going to be tomorrow in the future is going to be based on the principle you are operating right now. Right now. You got to examine your life right now. What are the principles that you're operating right now? You know, when we talk deeply into this, we go into what a kind of relationship you have, what are the thought patterns you have, what kind of environment are you established yourself, spiritual environment, mental environment, you know, your physical environment. How does it impact your principles and how you do things in your life? And I say also understand the importance of the gift of the day. Don't just look at that day as if it's nothing. It's something. Change happens in the moment. That change that you're looking for may happen that day. And I'm going to talk about that tomorrow when I talk about productivity, the principle of productivity. Now, also make productive decisions by thinking, planning, and acting on your plans. You're going to think through it, you're going to plan it, and you're going to act on it. Utilize the principle of time, productivity, and change to be able to get the result you want. And also be flexible to try something different and uncommon. That's where creativity comes in, especially when you're not getting the result you want. Be flexible to try something different and uncommon. All those things, you have to experiment it in your day. You have to evaluate your day every single day and say, whoa, okay, today is almost over. What is it that I accomplished today? What was the routine today? What are the things that I did today? And then every day you have to see, okay, so did I really get to where I'm supposed to be? If a day should go by, 2 days should go by, 3 days, and you're not really questioning yourself, something is wrong. You can't live like that. We used to live like that before, but where we are right now, we cannot live like that. Where we are right now is where we question our day and say, what did I invest in today? Because you know now that you are applying a principle and it has a consequence. So when that day just go off like that without anything tangible to say, this is what I did, definitely you know the consequences coming, and we can't play that game anymore. So and that's it for the this is I'll leave you with this. Things do not change. We change. Things do not change. We change. If you want things to change, you have to change. You have to apply all those principles. You have to understand how they work. You have to understand how they, as part of the life that you're living. And and I hope every one of us will be able to, apply this principle and then try to restructure our life. At the end of the day, everybody, one of us, need to be successful and get to where we need to be. And that's my desire for every one of us. And I want to appreciate you for taking your time to be part of this class. Thank you. Sincerely and deeply appreciate you for being part of this. It's not like I'm not taking it for granted. I really do. If there's one person did not show up, two people will not show up, three will not show up. If I have three people in a class, it makes me to understand that what God said to me, that's everything about my life has changed, and I believe that. And I said that's true, because that you start something and one person decides to listen to you is such a blessing, and I really do sincerely appreciate your time. So it's going to be time for questions and discussion.